Motivation with Amazon Music.
You're still in bed? Didn't you go running?
Oh, I overslept. I'll go tomorrow. I'm getting in the shower.
Alexa, set an alarm for 5 a.m. tomorrow to hard rock music.
Okay, I'm up.
The right song exactly when you need it. Amazon Music, the simplest way to listen to the music you love. New customers start your 30-day free trial at amazonmusic.com. Renews automatically, cancel anytime.
Blog Talk Radio.
There were times I felt so alone, even though you were right next to me. There were times I could sense that you just didn't want to be with me. When you finally left on that long trip back home, I was stuck sitting on one side of the couch, left to sob there all alone. And I tried to breathe, and I tried to sleep all day, wishing that all this pain would just go away. And you knocked on the door right outside. It was a beautiful surprise. I didn't know where we should begin, 'cause all I know is that I fell in love all over again. I couldn't wait to embrace you once I realized you came all the way back to me just to look into my eyes. And as you're standing there, I just don't know what to do, 'cause all I know is I have this chance just to wrap my arms around you. Now I'm free to breathe, and I can finally sleep at night. And I'm hoping that you'll be there for the rest of my life, because you knocked on the door right outside. You were a beautiful surprise. I didn't know where we should begin, 'cause all I know is that I fell in love all over again. You knocked on the door right outside. You were a beautiful surprise. I didn't know where we should begin, 'cause all I know is that I fell in love all over again.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is a rainy Saturday night in South Florida. Yes, it is the beginning of our rainy season when the hurricanes fly and the winds blow. But this is Off the Chain. I'm your host, Yvonne Mason, and that was All Over Again, and it was written and sung by my guest tonight. And we'll talk about that song in a few minutes when we introduce our guest. But I just want to say that tonight's show is going to literally knock your socks off, ladies and gentlemen. Just in the past 5 minutes that my guest and I talked before the show, he had me in tears, I had him laughing, and I think we both are about speechless. And we hadn't even started the show yet, so this is going to be a wonderful, wonderful hour. this morning when I ran the numbers, I haven't even run the numbers for the podcast yet, but just on the show, ladies and gentlemen, y'all are amazing. You as the guest and as the listeners, we have reached 117,008 listeners just on the show. That doesn't include all the podcasts that this thing shows up on after the show, which is iTunes and YouTube and FM.com and TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, Podcast.com, Podcast Garden, Spreaker, SoundCloud, some oddball ones that I don't even put it up on, someone else does. And we're soon going to be on Spotify. So when you combine all of those podcasts with the show, we are at approximately 150,000 listeners in over 200 countries. This show's not even 2 years old yet. And even with the weeks that I had to cancel the shows because of my husband's illness, y'all kept it going, and I am so grateful and so humbled that there's not enough words, and I am a wordsmith. However, that being said, there's two ways you can get on the show. One is by being a guest, and the other is by running an ad on the show. And in both ways, you contact me at offthechainradio@yahoo.com, and I will tell you how to make either or both of those things happen. The beautiful thing with running ads is I don't do it to get rich. I do it for $10 a month. No matter how many shows I run in that month, you will be on the show. And if I have to reschedule the show, I just roll you over. I'm not in it, like I said, to get rich or to take advantage. I want each one of you to succeed. And with that being said, I always start the show with these two ads because these two ladies have stood by me through thick and thin, and they are just absolutely marvelous. The first one is author Diane Moats. She has a series, and it's called the Sam Holden series, and the first in the series is Doggone. The second in the series is called Dogfight, and it goes like this. Wherever a helpless animal whimpers in the dark and wherever the system fails to protect that animal, she'll be there, and she isn't giving up anytime soon, so you've been warned. When Sam Holden receives a tip about a brutal dog fighting ring, she embarks on some of her most dangerous acts of vigilantism yet. The monster known as the puppeteer circles Sam's world as she unknowingly circles his. While they chase each other, will Sam put those that she loves most in harm's way in order to break up the ring? With time running out and animals in need, the dangerous life Sam's created begins to eclipse any other life she could ever lead. Both of her books are on Kindle, ladies and gentlemen, so go online and look her up. Diane Moat with Dogfight and Doggone. Now, if you're into inspiration and improving your lifestyle and living the best possible life you can, you need to listen to Inside Your Life with CC, which is a motivational, passionate conversation. CC interviews people who are living their true purpose, whether it be a professional boxer, an author, or a history enthusiast. She strives to give you hope for a brighter day with her inspirational words. So download, subscribe, and listen as CC guides you to pursue your dreams and for you to live your best life. This wonderful show is available on podcast.com, iTunes, Google Play, and everywhere podcasts are available. Now that we've got the business of the day out of the way, I have to tell you about this amazing, just if I could adopt him, I would. He's simply an amazing young man. His name is Phillip Broussard, and he discovered his passion early in life. When his father brought home a guitar, his father's original intention was to play the guitar himself, but soon young Phillip was found picking up the guitar when he didn't think anybody was watching. What started as just a few chords ignited the desire to want to share his newfound passion with the world. Born and raised in Washington State, love that state, is so beautiful. Phillip grew up under the influence of several artists that his father idolized, including some of my favorites, Pink Floyd, James Taylor, Jimi Hendrix, and the one and only Eric Clapton. I think I've got everything that man has ever written, sang, produced. However, sadly, tragedy struck at 18 years old when Phillip's father and grandfather and uncle all passed away within 6 months of each other. So Phillip enlisted in the Navy in an attempt to quell his grief. Early on in his naval career, someone handed Phillip a copy of John Mayer's CD, Room for Squares. This album reignited his passion for the guitar after a hiatus due to the loss of all those family members. And I can relate to multiple deaths in a short time. Y'all know. Y'all have been with me long enough. In 2007, Phillip deployed in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom and Enduring Freedom, and during this time he refined his guitar skills. See, ladies and gentlemen, not only is this young man a wonderful songwriter, musician, and performer, he's also one of our wonderful, wonderful veterans. What a day for him to come on this show this weekend when we honor our fallen. After his time in the military, Phillip sporadically played gigs in the San Diego area. He relocated to Washington State, where he completed his undergraduate studies at the University of Washington in Seattle. He acquired a BA in finance from Foster School of Business. Phillip's music stylings have a darker tone, but range from the blues to pop tunes. When he is not playing music, he earns a living as the owner of a general contracting business in Pierce County, Washington. This young man is so multi-talented it should be sinful. Hello, my friend. How are you tonight?
Hi. How are you?
I am fine. The more I read, you just cannot be real.
Yeah, that's sometimes when I wake up, I think about all the stuff I have yet to do, and it's a little overwhelming. So I just keep my head up and keep pushing and pushing and pushing, and hopefully I'll have accomplished everything I want to accomplish before I die.
Well, you are just so multi-talented. Not only are you a musician, you're a veteran. God bless you. Thank you for your service, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. And you own a general contracting business. I'm going to tell you, being a general contractor is not the easiest job in the world when you work for somebody, but when you own it, that's got to be a headache from hell.
Yeah, there's times it's a little overwhelming. I have, at times I've had 12 employees. At times I've had 2, and I'm back up to 6 now. And our workload's increasing. We just won a large contract too. So, on the outside of music, sometimes my day job can be a little overwhelming. But you can only eat an elephant one bite at a time. So you just take your challenges as they come, and the best thing is to, when you wake up in the morning, is to, make your bed and drink a glass of water. You've accomplished 2 things. You've accomplished the task of making your bed, which you'll feel better when you walk in and climb into the bed, when you go to bed later that night. And, when you drink that glass of water, you've been sleeping for 8 hours, 6 hours, whatever, however long people sleep. And, chances are you're slightly dehydrated and everything like that. So you've gotten your body off to the right start, and you've also set yourself up for the end of the day after, when you climb into bed at the end of the day. So, just doing those 2 tasks when you get up in the morning can actually set your day in the right direction every time. And that's what I do, and it's helped me out a lot in these last couple of years.
How in the world, my young friend, did you become so wise so young?
Well, I had a lot of great teachers. I don't know if wisdom is I don't know. I've had a lot of great teachers, especially in the military. So, a lot of them had, I think, a pool of the secrets to life, and I don't know. I try to listen more than I talk, I suppose.
See, again, ladies and gentlemen, if some older people would learn that tidbit of wisdom, the more I talk to this young man, the more wisdom just pours out of him like a open spigot. If some older people would learn that tidbit of wisdom, you only have one mouth for a reason. You have 2 ears for a reason. 2 ears to listen doubly well, and one mouth so you don't talk so much. I love it. Let's step back a little bit. I want to talk about the new song all over again, but I want to step back into the past a little bit. I want to talk about young Phillip and
Sure.
what made young Phillip pick up that guitar. I know you idolized your father. That was your yardstick, your stepping stone, your hero. Was it because he brought the guitar home and wanted to play it that you wanted to emulate him? Or was it just something that you felt like you needed to do?
It was a moment that I'll never forget. I remember this guitar. It was just a really cheap Walmart guitar, but it was in the back of my dad's SUV, and he had just brought it home, and we had opened this hatchback to the back of this. I think it was like a Ford Explorer, and I saw this guitar, this beautiful white guitar, electric guitar sitting there, and I kind of just ran my fingers over the strings. And in that moment, I got goosebumps down the back of my neck. Something felt right about what I'd just done. And so I, kept strumming the strings a little bit with my hand and everything. And it was just this weird thing. And I saw the movie Avatar a while back, and it almost reminded me of when they bond with their horse or whatever, when they put their hair together or whatever, and they make that bond. I felt like that with the guitar. It was really weird, and I still look back on it as something that sticks out very much in my mind. And so over the next couple weeks, I would go in and I would turn it on, and I would pluck at these strings and play it and everything like that. And my dad walked in on me, and I was like, oh crap, and I turned it off, and my dad was like, what's wrong? And I was like, well, this is in your room, and you probably don't want me touching this, and I'm sorry, but I just couldn't leave it alone. And he said, I bought it for you to enjoy too, and anything that I can do, he basically said, anything I can do to make you really happy, with something like that, I'll do. So, and my dad wasn't well off by any stretch of imagination. There were some weeks that he had to determine whether or not he could buy groceries or fuel for his car. And so, that kind of investment in me meant a lot even back then. And I was kind of I don't know how to describe myself. I was kind of a difficult kid at times, especially as a teenager. And so over the next, the course of the next couple of months, I went in there and I played it and played it and played it, and I just couldn't get enough. And then when he died, I didn't want to ever look at it again.
Did you ever look at it again? Did you ever pick it back up and play it?
So, no. But there's a caveat to that. So my dad, he had these subtle ways of complimenting me or something like that. And after I had played for about, I want to say 2 years, I was getting to the point where I could solo, and I was getting to the point where I could, I was pretty fluent in the instrument, and I had played in a church band and everything like that. And my dad pulled me aside right before I turned 18, and he had bought me another guitar after that, and he had asked me to sign that guitar, my first one. And I was, like, oh, okay, Dad, thanks, sure, here you go. And I signed the guitar. And when he died, I went into his closet, and I found in a display case that he had basically made a shrine in this display case, with pictures of me and my brother and everything like that. In this display case, standing upright, was this electric guitar that I had signed for him.
Oh, my goodness. What a memory, Phillip.
Yeah, so I never played that guitar again. No.
But what a beautiful, beautiful memory.
I agree.
To not only did you hold your father up as a yardstick, and just by listening to you talk and talking about having chill bumps run up and down your spine, as you were telling me that story, because I'm an empath, those chill bumps were running up and down my spine. But now I know, I understand where you get, A, your work ethic from, B, your attitude about life in general, and your moral compass.
Sure. Yeah.
Even though your father died when you were 18, he had already instilled those values in you. And
yeah, I agree.
Look at what a well-rounded young man you have become.
Thank you.
That is absolutely amazing. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to play a song in a few minutes, if I can get through it and he can get through it. But before that, there's a burning question that I have. Like I told you before the show, I do deep dives on my guests because that's the kind of person I am. And you did an interview, and you talked about doing live shows, and there was a statement of you could not understand why people kept asking to smell your hair.
Yeah, that was an odd one.
Okay, tell me that story.
You know, it was pretty simple. I got done with this show, and I was, you know, shaking hands with some people, and there was a girl that came up, and she asked me if she could smell my hair. And I thought it was an unreasonable request, so I just politely declined. And you know, I felt kind of bad for having to tell her no, but I asked her, you know, I was like, why do you want to smell my hair? And she's like, I don't know, I just really want to know what your hair smells like. So, I mean, I can't fault her because there's been plenty of times, you know, I don't know, there's been probably plenty of weird thoughts that go through my head. But that was probably the oddest request I've gotten at a show.
That is odd. That's almost as bad as women throwing their underwear up on the stage. I'm going, okay, why would she?
Yeah.
Why would she want to smell his hair? I mean, she's in the audience, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
Is it
No.
pompadour? Do you wear pomade in it?
I do, and in fact, if whoever she is listening, I wear Axe Clean Cut Look Axe Styling Pomade. So if you just smell
there
that,
you go.
You'll know what my hair smells like.
See, that's what the fragrance of the pomade emanated across the stage down into the audience. She had super sensitive smelling senses, and it just destroyed her.
Maybe that's true.
That's scary. Yeah, you know, now you're going to have to get a bodyguard, right?
Yeah, eventually, probably true. Yeah.
Now, you and I talked briefly before we went live about being indie artist in this cutthroat business of music and writing, and the fact that it has been difficult to break that door down, to get out there, to be heard, to be read. When you started recording and you started performing and you started selling your music, how difficult was it for you, and do you still find that people want you to give your craft away because you're not one of the big six?
Well, you know, it's I will say that music has shifted away from something that is enjoyed to something that is consumed. So, and I'll give what I think is a good example of that. Charlie Puth came out with the song "Attention" a while back. It's a great song, and I listen to it often. And I was asking somebody about it that actually told me about that song originally, and she said, "Who cares? I heard that, you know, that came out like 8 months ago." And I was like, "Yeah, but you can listen to it more often than just once or twice a couple months ago after it comes out." And she goes, you know, who cares?
What?
And I was like, yeah. And I said, wow, like a song is meant to be, you know, when you hear a song, it's like reading a book. It goes in your ear and it becomes a part of you. and it finds its way through your veins, and it wraps one of its. It creates
like
a new heartstring.
Yeah.
Exactly. It creates a new heartstring, and then so that's. I mean, it's.
Word. I still have music that I was born in 51, so you know what I grew up listening to. I grew up listening to bebop and to big bands and to Elvis and to the Temptations and to Lefty Frizzell and all of those old artists. I still have their music and I still listen to it.
Yep. I listen to Elvis routinely, actually. I know how you feel.
It's like looking at a beautiful piece of artwork that was created in the 16th, 17th century. Just because you saw it once doesn't mean that it's lost its luster.
You're preaching the choir here.
Oh, Lord, what is wrong with these young people? Have they lost their minds? We are a throwaway society. We throw away our children, we throw away our books, we throw away our lives, and we throw away our music.
Sad, isn't it?
Oh, my word. So I guess that if you were in concert more than once, she would only come see you one time because, she'd already heard you once. She was done with you?
Probably.
Oh, well, who needs her? She'll grow up. You don't need that kind of fair weather friend. We call them sunshine friends. As long as the sun is shining, they're your friend.
Right.
Let me ask you a question. Since it is a holiday weekend and since we are honoring those who have fallen through the many wards, and I don't want you to go beyond the scope of what you're comfortable with, but you were deployed right at the beginning of the aftermath of 9/11. How can I ask this? What kind of feelings ran through your mind? Because, see, as time has passed, we as a nation have sort of forgotten the shock of what happened when we lost 3,000 people and on our own land, in the sanctity of our little cocoon. When that happened and you were deployed, what feelings ran through your mind?
Well, so there was actually a bit of a gap between when 9/11 happened and when I joined. So I didn't join until 2004, and
but it was still fresh enough. We were still angry.
It was still fresh now. Yeah, and so I didn't deploy until 2007. So there was quite a few years there before. So I mean, realistically, 9/11 I think was. And I was 16 when 9/11 happened, so I was on the bus to school when 9/11 took place. And actually, I think I was 15. It doesn't matter, but I was just hitting the age where I was able to comprehend what was going on. I didn't necessarily understand the gravity of the situation or what would take place as the repercussions of it. But I'll tell you, when I joined the military, my goals and my belief systems were largely patriotic, and my desire to join the military was largely patriotic as well. So I think for me, a deployment was a way of serving my country that allowed me to do something to hopefully heal the wounds that the nation were still trying to mend. I don't know if
makes perfect sense to me.
A lot of people, thank service members for their service, and there's always people that will say, well, whose freedom are we really defending? I mean, we're over in Iraq or over in Afghanistan, but the answer is a little bit more complicated, and I think I finally found a way to answer that question. My answer is service members defend your freedom by volunteering in an all-volunteer force, so that way they don't have to reinstate a draft, and you're free to not join. And so
Good
that
statement.
is my answer to that question. And so I felt a large amount of gratitude to my country, for one. They did set me up very well. I was able to go to college. I was able to learn a trade. But at the same time, I felt like I was grateful for the ability to be able to take the spot so that way somebody else could go and enjoy, being able to go to college or being able to be at home with their families. I felt grateful that I had the opportunity to take that spot so that way somebody else didn't have to.
I'm telling you, Philip, you are, ladies and gentlemen, this young man has the soul of a wise man. He had to have been in another life one of the shamans in one of the Indian tribes, or one of the wise men in one of the older cultures. Because, Philip, that is one of the most profound, well thought out statements, and it makes perfect sense. And again, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, thank you for that.
Thank you. I spend a lot of time thinking about stuff like this. I do have a busy job and a busy life, but at the same time, I do think a lot about various things and various. One of my favorite books is Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, and I don't know about past lives or anything like that, but there is, in our current lives, there's lots of people that have lived prior to us that can dole out lots of wisdom. Whether it's, whether your source of wisdom is the Bible, whether your source of wisdom is whatever. But, one of my favorite places for it is Marcus Aurelius' book, Meditations. And a lot, there's a lot of profound advice in that book. Marcus Aurelius, one of my favorite quotes is, "Your life is what your thoughts make of it." And, I've even noticed people that are really negative all the time, that just have a terrible outlook on life. I've seen pictures of them when they're younger, and as they get older, they get uglier and uglier, and they get, grayer faster. And people that hate other people, they look terrible towards, at a relatively young age. And there are some people that, gush, about, love and respect and don't take themselves too seriously, and they look fantastic, well into their late stages of life. And I think that's very true. I do think your life is what your thoughts make of it. And if you're going to think bad, toxic, if you're going to think bad, toxic thoughts, your body's going to reap the consequences.
Just like the old saying, we are what we eat, we are also what we think and how we act.
Sure.
And with that in mind, because I don't want us to run out of time without playing this other song, ladies and gentlemen, you might want to take a quick second and grab a Kleenex box, because I am going to play the second song, and then we're going to talk about the second song. And the first time that I played it this afternoon, now, y'all all know me, I'm not a crier. That is just not in my wheelhouse. But I was blubbering like a baby. And when you find out the reason behind this song, you're going to need those Kleenexes. So I'm going to give y'all just a minute, not even a minute, because I'm fixing to play the song. So run real quick and grab the Kleenexes and hurry back. And we are speaking with a exceptional young man. He's a musician. His name is Phillip Broussard, and I would adopt him tomorrow if he would let me, because he is an amazing young man. He is teaching me a whole lot, and I'm old enough to be his grandmother. So hang on, folks, while we play this song.
Say that the blink of an eye in heaven is 1,000 years on earth. feels like 1,000 years since you left this place, and I'd do anything just to see your face again. I know I never told you enough how much you meant to me. If I could do it all over again, you'd hear it every day. But there's no going back. Those mistakes are in the past. How many times could I have said that you're my best friend? How many days could I have spent getting you to comprehend? This life is going to end, and I'd be without you, my friend. This isn't fair. If you saw how many times I cried in the years since you died, then maybe you would spend more time trying to save your life. But there's no going back. Those mistakes are in the past. How many times could I have said that you're my best friend? How many days could I have spent getting you to comprehend that this life is gonna end, and I'd be without you, my friend. This isn't fair. I'd be without you, my friend. This isn't
That was Best Friend by my guest, Phillip Broussard. And now I got to get this frog out of my throat. This is Off the Chain. I'm your host, Yvonne Mason. And Phillip, give us the history of the song. You and I talked earlier, and I started blubbering again. Tell us the history behind this amazing piece of work. Again, you are one of the most wisest young people I have run across in a long, long time. And believe you me, I know a lot of young people, and half of them I want to bury until they get some common sense. So tell us about this beautiful, beautiful song.
Well, so my dad died when I was 18, and he went to bed with some chest pain, and nobody really thought anything of it. He was 46 years old. He was he was a smoker, but at the same time, 46 years old is still pretty young, and went to bed with some chest pain, and the next day I was at work, and I just had this really odd feeling. So I got a call from my mom, and she said, you need to call home, and you need to expect the worst. And I said, what are you talking about? And my parents were divorced, and, they didn't have any contact with one another, so I thought that was odd. And my grandparents lived right next to me, so I thought maybe my grandfather, who was, in his late 70s at the time, I thought maybe something bad happened to him, so I go to call my dad. So I called my dad, and a sheriff's deputy picked up the phone, and the sheriff's deputy said, is this Phillip? And I said, yes. Who is this? And he said, well, this is Officer so-and-so with the sheriff's department. Excuse me. And I said, well, what are you doing at my dad's house? And he said, well, I don't know. I really hate to be the one to tell you this, but your father passed away last night. And I said, what? And he says, yeah, I'm really, really sorry. And I lost my composure, and I started crying, and I begged and pleaded with him on the phone to resuscitate my father and do everything they could to revive him. And he was telling me that he just couldn't. My dad had been gone too long. He had been gone for quite a few hours. And so I went and I rushed home, and I had to see my dad get wheeled out of the house on a stretcher with a sheet over his head. And I just, in that moment, my entire world changed. And so I was sitting there, my dad and I were very close. I watched my essentially best friend, say goodbye in a certain way. And that was painful. I didn't enjoy that. So I fast forward a couple of years, and I joined the military, and I go through a couple of military deployments, and I get back, and I get out of the military, and so life goes from 100 miles an hour down to 0, and all of a sudden, all this junk and all this grief and emotional baggage that I'd never dealt with bubbled its way to the surface. And so, best friend was my way of telling my dad finally, after all those years, how I felt about him, and it was part of my acceptance into letting him go. Not out of my life completely. He's still in my memories, and I still can hear his voice. I can still hear his laugh, but it was my way of telling him that I just didn't have the ability or time or energy to be sad all the time anymore.
And he wouldn't have wanted that, because apparently your father was a very fun-loving human being who enjoyed life, or else you wouldn't have the ability to enjoy life the way that you do and turn away the negative things that go on, because we don't have time for it. And what I heard in the song was, and you and I talked about this before we went live, what I heard in the song was every stage of grief that we go through, and none of us go through the stages of grief A, at the same time, or B, in the same way. We deal with grief in different ways. And I heard the anger, I heard the sadness, I heard the denial, I heard the guilt of making your father feel guilty. How dare he die? And then I heard, but through it all, you're my best friend and I love you. And that was the acceptance. Yeah. And ladies and gentlemen, that song resonated with me, and y'all know that 2 years ago I lost my granddaughter and then I lost my father. Well, he and I both lost our fathers in the same month. We both lost our fathers in August. So that's just one more reason that this young man has endeared himself to me, not because he's just so wise beyond his years, but there's just a connection there. And I would dare say that any of you that have had that kind of loss, if you can listen to that song and find the acceptance that Phillip found, you will be better off in your life. Am I correct, Phillip?
I think so. I think I think the faster you can find the acceptance, the better. Recognize the stages of grief definitely exist, and I think it's poignant to understand what stage you're in. If you can, if you find yourself being incredibly sad, you'll know that you're almost through it. You're almost to the acceptance stage. If you find yourself bargaining, you'll know you're halfway there.
Yep, you're so right. Well, before we run out of time, I want to run 3 quick ads, and then if we have time, I want to play the third song. If we don't have time, I'm going to come back and we're going to find out where you can be found and all that good stuff, because this hour is flying by so fast. And I asked you before the show, but I'm going to ask you again, will you please come back?
Oh, of course. Of course.
Okay. See, ladies and gentlemen, how easy that is. You don't know the answer unless you ask the question. So bear with us. Let me run these 3 ads, and we will be right back with Off the Chain.
Do you have cougars on your porch swing? Our horse is your new best friend. Do your nicest shoes get buried knee-deep in snow as your toes turn blue? Are you bothered by wolves at your woodpile? No, not that kind of wolf. Join wildlife artist and author Nancy Quinn and her family as they discover an exciting new life in Go West, Young Woman, a true Montana adventure. Available online and in bookstores. Or visit QuinnWildlifeArt.com for a personalized signed copy. Critics agree, it's a hoot.
Hi, this is Winona and Jade inviting you to join us and our wonderful guests on the And I Thought Women's Cave podcast on Blog Talk Radio to learn more about our books, the And I Thought series, and the Misfit Guides. They're available on Amazon.com and BarnesandNobles.com. Or just to see what your ladies are up to, you can find all of that out on www.andwethought.com. So peace and love from Winona and Jade and our books. You're so silly. You silly. Remember, did you write that? That's funny. Remember to visit us at andwethought.com.
Former Boston PD Captain Stanford Carter and his wife, forensic scientist Jill Seacrest, have decided to move to the Big Apple to accept positions with the New York branch of the FBI. Rookie agent Shania Deeprose completes the trinity as they collide head-on with raging and rampant social, political, and economic unrest amid a string of murders that seem unrelated and may be serial, copycat, thrill, or hate-driven. As they struggle to understand the mind and thought process of the orchestrators, killers, and victims, the team begins to wonder who's who. The line between black and white, superior and subordinate, right and wrong, and good and evil disappears as they are forced to reevaluate their own thoughts, feelings, and philosophies. Ultimately, every character must come to their own conclusions to these questions. Is justice ever more important than the law? Is playing God justifiable if it's for the greater good of all? Come along for the ride to see if Agent Carter will decide to stick to being a hunter or become judge, jury, and executioner instead. Find the answers to these questions when you read the new book, The Killing Collective. The Killing Collective is a character-driven story with big characters with depth. They're soul-searching in addition to the biggest case of the agents' careers. The Killing Collective, available on Amazon in both Kindle and paperback editions. Order your copy today.
Ever since we met, I have worshipped the ground that your feet have touched, just to be pushed around. I should know by now you're not here to stay. It's something I can't get past, and and it's killing me. I just wanna believe that you'd be there for me. 'Cause one day I hope you'll see what your love's doing to me. Gets worse every day as you inch farther away. 'Cause I don't know what to say. I remember the walks that we used to take, and coffee in the morning just after coming awake. And now those are replaced with angry words flowing free. And I don't know what to do. Help me make you see. I just wanna believe that you'd be there for me. 'Cause one day I hope you'll see what your love's doing to me. Gets worse every day as you inch farther away. 'Cause I don't know what to say. I have nowhere to go where I won't think about you every day. 'Cause one day I hope you'll see what your love's doing to me. Gets worse every day as you inch farther away. 'Cause I don't know what to say.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Off the Chain. I'm your host, Yvonne Mason, and that was Just Wanna Believe by my guest, Phillip Broussard. He is the singer, songwriter, musician, you name it, he did it with all the songs that he has performed tonight. And I had to close the show on that upbeat note, Phillip, because, you know, we have to come full circle here. We can't be down in the pit all the time. It just doesn't work that way. So tell me, where did that song come from?
So that song is actually what I call a middle-of-the-road song, and, you know, I think that song has something for everybody. And so...
It does.
You know, it just... I find inspiration in a lot of different places, and, you know, I think somebody was just telling me about how they had been pleading with their spouse or something like that about, like, if he would just listen, and just hear what I have to say, you know, because sometimes it just feels like his love is killing me. You know, that's what inspired that song. So I didn't want to make it completely negative, or I should say completely sad, so I wrote it in all major chords. And there's an A minor in there, but it doesn't matter. But, you know, I just wanted people to feel like, you know, you're not the only one that goes through this. Lots of us feel like sometimes we're just not being listened to by the ones we love the most.
And that is so true. And when that happens with me, I just look at him and say, "Talk to the hand," and I just walk away. Didn't they listen? What'd I do? Yeah, just talk to the hand. So, my dear, near new. I see I can't talk anymore. You've got me twisting my tongue. My dear new friend, tell these lovely, lovely, lovely folks where you can be found, because your music is just going to go off the charts. Ladies and gentlemen, support indie artists. We are out there, and we are good at our craft. This man's exceptional at his craft. And so tell them where you can be found, where music can be found.
Well, you can find me by searching my name on Spotify, You can also find me on Google Play and Apple Music as well as iTunes. You can find me on YouTube as well. I post covers on there occasionally. But, if you ever just want to reach out, you can find me on Facebook. My name is spelled Phillip, and my last name is B as in boy, Roussard. And, I love hearing from people, and I'll always respond. And if I don't, just give it a little time. I will eventually. But,
he's got several things going on here. He's not just sitting around waiting on us to get in contact. Though I do push the button.
Exactly. But, I feel like I'm here to serve others, and I really hope that you feel comfortable saying hello. It doesn't matter what country you're in.
Absolutely. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm serious about this. Support indie artists, because we have to work 100 times as hard to get half of the audience that mainstream artists do. We have to do all of our own promoting. We have to do all of our own marketing. We have to do things that someone in the big six, as they call it, doesn't have to do, because they have other people doing it for them. I happen to be involved with Michael Stover, who manages the PR for Phillip and the other two guests I had this week. And I'm going to tell you, when Michael contacted me and said, would you, and I jumped on it, God, he is such a godsend, because all three of y'all, you and the other two guys I had, are such blessings, and you just rounded out the week.
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. It means a lot, and it was an honor and a privilege to be on your show.
Well, and you will be with if you don't mind, I want you to be a regular on the show. You've got a new album coming out. We didn't even get to that.
Well, my album Wavelength came out last year. I am going to probably promote one more song off that album before I release any new tracks.
Sweet. So, new Wavelength, ladies and gentlemen. Y'all have to get the album. Now, can they get it in CD form, or is it all download?
It's all download currently. I'm working on putting my store online with vinyl, and probably not CDs. CDs don't sell very well anymore. So probably
vinyl.
Vinyl.
Did I hear that word, vinyl?
Yes, vinyl sells better than CDs, but that's because most people just download all the music.
All right, this is. I'm asking no, ladies and gentlemen, you can't do this. I'm asking a very big favor. When you get the vinyl out, would you please let me know, and I will send you the money, and if you will sign the cover for me.
Oh, absolutely. I'd be more than happy.
Thank you. See, ladies, you don't know the answer to the question until you ask the question. Yes, you too can get a signed cover, but you've got to pay attention, because he's going to start coming on the show, and hopefully he'll launch the vinyl on the show. Wouldn't that be cool? That would be so cool.
That would be awesome.
Okay, all right, we have a date, young man. We have a date. Okay. Now, don't hang up when the show goes dark, because there's some things I want to tell you, but I do want to say thank you so much for spending an hour with me and taking that very valuable time out of a piece of your life. It's an honor and a privilege, and I hope you have had as much fun as I have had doing this hour.
Oh, I did. Yeah, the honor was all mine. I mean that.
So, ladies and gentlemen, y'all know that at the end of every show, there's a couple of things I say, and one of them is this. People will forget what you look like. They'll forget your name. They'll even forget what you're wearing, but they will never, ever, ever forget how you have made them feel. And it is my desire, my drive, my passion that everyone that leaves the show, whether listener or guest, they are the most important person in the room, because you are, ladies and gentlemen. You are the most important. I don't care if it's one listener, 20 listeners, 1,000 listeners. I don't care if it's one guest or two guests. You each are the most important person in the room. It's like I used to tell my children, I love the oldest one because he was the oldest. I love the middle one the best because she was the middle one. I love the youngest one the best because she was the youngest. So you are all loved and appreciated because you are unique. And remember this, if you want to achieve greatness, stop asking permission, because there is nobody out there that will give it to you. Just go out and take your journey. And if you have to take a detour, because the journey is the fun. It's not the destination. Join us again tomorrow night, Lord willing, if my guest is able to come at 8 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time. Deborah Simpson is supposed to be with me. I've not heard from her yet, but I will ask. Until then, this is Yvonne Mason with Off the Chain and my guest, musician, songwriter, all-around great guy, Phillip Broussard. And we wish you all a wonderful, wonderful holiday weekend if you're in the States. And to all of the fallen and the families of the fallen, we thank them for their sacrifice. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we say good evening. Okay, we are off the air. What we're saying now will go up in the archive part of the show. But what I wanted to tell you is as soon as we get off, the show will archive. And once it archives, I will put the link up on my page and tag you and Michael in it. I want you to take the show and put it everywhere. Tomorrow, I will put the show up on Spreaker and SoundCloud and Podcast.com and Podcast Garden. I will send you the links for those, and from Spreaker, it goes up to iHeartRadio, it goes up to FM.com and TuneIn Radio. I will send you the link for the iHeartRadio, and it also goes up on iTunes. So my gift to you is take all those podcasts and share them with everybody and their brother, and have your friends share them. Because the more you get the podcast out there, the more you're going to be heard in places you've never been heard before.
Okay, sounds good.
And you're gonna see your music sell like crazy.
Yeah, I hope so.
It's going to. I'm telling you, it's going to. The Diane Mote that I read her ad, she had #1 bestsellers in the country of Australia, and it was from the ads that I run for her on this show.
Wow.
So, yeah, sweetheart, this show, it does things for my guests that are beyond the imagination. So revel in it.
Well, I'm grateful.
Enjoy it. And I am so grateful for you. I'm grateful for your service, and I am grateful and appreciative that you took an hour out. And I'm going to get with Michael and have him send me some more songs, and we'll set up some more dates so that you can be a regular on the show if you want to, and come every 3 or 4 months and play your music, and let's get some more out there.
I'd love that. Yeah, the honor's mine.
Thank you, sweetheart, and we will talk later. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Sounds good.
Okay,
Thank you.
honey. Good night.
Bye now.
Motivation with Amazon Music.
You're still in bed? Didn't you go running?
Oh, I overslept. I'll go tomorrow. I'm getting in the shower.
Alexa, set an alarm for 5 a.m. tomorrow to hard rock music.
Okay, I'm up.
The right song exactly when you need it. Amazon Music, the simplest way to listen to the music you love. New customers start your 30-day free trial at amazonmusic.com. Renews automatically, cancel anytime. Motivation with Amazon Music.
You're still in bed? Didn't you go running?
Oh, I overslept. I'll go tomorrow. I'm getting in the shower.
Alexa, set an alarm for 5 a.m. tomorrow to hard rock music.
Okay, I'm up.
The right song exactly when you need it. Amazon Music, the simplest way to listen to the music you love. New customers start your 30-day free trial at amazonmusic.com. Renews automatically, cancel anytime.